When the first light of the sun came through the dirty windows of Okoro's big house, he did not find quietness. Instead, he heard a loud, messy mix of voices, laughter, and loud fights. Early in the morning, even before many people had woken up, the loud noise of his 25 wives arguing filled every part of his home. Their shouts and teasing words bounced off the dirt walls, showing that this was not a quiet home but a busy place full of noise and trouble. Okoro felt sad as he saw that his money had given him a life where every morning brought new crazy problems. Okoro was known by many as one of the very rich men in the area. He got his money from hard work and luck. He built a big house out of dirt and rock that looked special among the small houses in his village. Even though he had a lot of money, his life was not at all quiet. He once wanted calm nights and nice family time, but real life was very different. The laughs and small fights of his many wives, along with the constant talk of kids running around, often made him very tired. His money, which once showed he was doing well, now seemed to be the cause of his problems every day. As time went by, Okoro married 25 wives, each with her own different way and wishes. Some were soft and kind, while others were strong and lively. The wives, all attracted by his money and hope for a good life, soon turned his big house into a place with lots of energy and mess. They came with just hope and a desire to make his life full of life and surprise. Over time, 10 of these wives had children with him, adding always many little feet and giggles to the home. Every room, every yard, and every part of his house was full of life, noise, and non-stop fun and mess. The house soon turned into a place where peace did not come often and mess ruled all. Every morning, as the sun got higher, the wives could be heard fighting over small things, from who would make breakfast to how to wash the big cooking pots. Some days, the noise was so much that Okoro felt like even the walls were shaking. He tried to find a little calm in a small corner of his big house, but the talk and laughter of the children and the active chatting among his wives were always near. The loud mix of sounds made him wonder if he had ended up with a home full of many voices instead of just a few. One of the wives, Amina, was known for her firm ideas and quick anger. Every morning, she would stand at the door of the kitchen and yell instructions at anyone who was slow to start the day's work. Amina thought that being organized was very important, but her idea of order was often to yell louder than everyone else. Her big, loud voice, mixed with the noisy sound of pots and pans, started the day in a strong way. The other wives sometimes found her energy funny and other times too much. Yet, when she looked at her children, there was a gentle look in her eyes, showing that she loved them very much. Another wife, Binta, spoke in a soft way but was very sure of what she did. She spent hours teaching her children simple songs and rhymes, making a place where laughing and learning happened together. Binta's kind way was different from the louder, stronger ways of others around her, but she did well by using her quiet manner to say a lot. Her small part of the house was filled with the gentle singing of bedtime songs and sometimes had giggles from her kids. Even though life at Okoro's home was a crazy busy life, Binta tried to bring small moments of quiet, teaching her children that even in the middle of mess, there could be times of nice calm. One sunny afternoon, the wives decided to have a big feast to celebrate their home's never-ending energy. They gathered in the big open yard, each doing different jobs, from making big pots of stew to hanging bright cloths and simple decorations. The air was full of the smells of spices and cooked meat, and the sound of laughter mixed with the noisy sounds of pots and pans. Okoro, who had been trying to enjoy a quiet moment in his study, was suddenly drawn into the busy work. He found himself running from one group to another, trying to settle small fights over where chairs should go and the way the food should be given out. Even with all the mess, it felt warm and happy, and even the biggest fights felt like part of a fun, big party. The kitchen, a room once seen as the center of a calm home, became a place for big events every day. With all 25 wives taking turns to add their own ideas, the kitchen was full of laughter, shouts, and sometimes little accidents. One moment, you would see Amina insisting on stirring the pot with a big wooden spoon, and the next, Binta would carefully measure spices while softly humming. The fight of ideas often led to funny arguing, as each wife thought her way was best. The walls filled with the sounds of water splashing and dishes hitting, and sometimes someone would shout, "This is not how it is done," making the kitchen a busy, always changing place of fun and mix-ups. In one scene that was not forgotten, when the hot sun was high over the big house, a little child ran quickly into the kitchen, making a big fuss when a bowl of soup fell. The loud noise of the bowl and the splash of the soup made the wives rush to work. Some ran to clean up the mess while others joked with the child kindly. Okoro, surprised, found himself avoiding utensils flying around and trying to calm the child and the upset cook. The accident became a reason for laughter for everyone, and even though the mess was big, it reminded them all how life can be surprising in their busy house. The event quickly became a story told many times, adding another part to the interesting story of their busy home. Every day, life at Okoro's big house was like a bright party that went on all the time. The wives spent their mornings getting ready for the day, from cooking big meals to organizing games for the children. The house was filled with small groups of people, each doing a task or having a small fight that quickly turned to laughter. As the day went on, the busy energy grew, with voices raised in singing and friendly fights. Even a simple job, like putting the table in order, became a big event as each wife added her own way. Okoro often sat and watched the busy mess with a mix of frustration and fun, realizing that his money had given him a life he did not think would happen, a life filled with never-ending happy noise. In the middle of all the daily craziness, the wives made a small group to help manage the home. They would meet in the big yard each morning, talking about the best ways to do their jobs and fix small fights. Their meetings were noisy and busy, with each wife happy to share her thoughts and ask questions. They talked about everything, from how to set the table to who would clean the big house. These gatherings made each wife feel important and part of the group. For Okoro, it felt like he had married a small village, where everyone's opinion was important and every decision had a mix of smart ideas, fun, and a bit of stubbornness. Okoro often tried to make things more calm in the busy mess, but his tries did not always work. Many times, he would walk into the big yard with a kind smile and a nice word, only to be met with many opinions and lots of laughter. He would offer a new idea to do the daily work or say a time for quiet thinking, but his ideas were often overwhelmed by the strong talks of his wives. No matter how hard he tried, the home's busy energy could not be stopped. In a place full of busy meetings and sudden surprises, Okoro slowly accepted that his home was not supposed to be quiet, but was a place of never-ending happy noise. One warm evening, everyone in the big house came together for a big meal around a long table outside under the sky. The wives had worked all day to prepare a meal that had lots of food and was bright, with big pots of stew, warm, fresh bread, and bowls of bright fruits and vegetables. The children, running around the group, made the happy mess even more lively with their laughter and fun shouts. Okoro sat at the top of the table, watching as the busy scene happened before him. Even with the mess, there was a strong feeling of being one family, like every sound and laugh was part of a big story that celebrated life with all its messy and pretty moments. During the big meal, a small accident turned the evening into a funny series of mistakes that no one would forget. One of the children, curious and playful, accidentally bumped a big bowl of stew. The tasty, hot soup poured all over the table and floor, making everyone gasp and laugh. Amina looked very surprised and jumped up quickly, while Binta quickly called the children to say sorry. Okoro, in the middle of the chaos, found himself running after the falling stew and trying to calm the wives who were laughing more and more. The event, even though it was messy, brought lots of laughter that carried into the night, changing a small accident into a happy memory of their surprising life. As time passed, the daily routines changed in ways no one expected. The wives, smart and full of ideas, started little contests to see who could do their jobs in the best way. One morning, a contest began about who could make the best porridge, with each wife adding her own special weight to the plain food. The laughter and kind jokes that followed spread around, making even the simplest meal a reason to celebrate. Okoro, watching with both fun and a little frustration, found that each contest brought a new burst of energy into his home. The contest, even though it was light and fun, also reminded him that in this busy family, every day was an adventure. Each day, it was clear that his wives became more used to using his money to add to their busy life. They would often ask for new chairs and tables, colorful cloths, and even small pretty things to decorate the big house. Their requests, sometimes very fancy, made Okoro's life more complicated. He found himself spending more time fixing up his home than having the quiet he once wanted. Even with the extra worry, it was funny in a way that he could not help but see. In a way, every new request or sudden burst of spending was like a surprise in a long story, a story where he felt like he was watching and wondering, always changing with the play. One morning, when the sun was high and the cool wind moved the leaves of the trees nearby, the wives met quietly to talk about their next big idea. They sat in a circle on the cool, red ground in the yard, whispering and giggling as they planned a new idea to make Okoro's life more fun. The plan was simple but playful, to give him challenges that would try his patience and make him join the fun. Every wife shared her ideas, and soon the air was full of excitement and a little bit of rule-breaking. For them, life was like a big show, and Okoro was both the main person and the one who acted without knowing it in their fun play. When Okoro heard about the wife's quiet plan, he felt both fear and a little funny surprise. The plan was made to test his patience and let the wives show their clever ideas. As he walked through his big house, he saw small clues, a basket put in a smart spot here, a quiet instruction there, that reminded him that every part of his home was watched by his busy family. Even his daily work was now part of a big game, one where surprises were hidden everywhere. Though he sometimes wanted a moment of quiet, he could not stop himself from smiling at how silly it was, realizing that this constant challenge was part of the odd fun that made his life full of surprises. On a very hot afternoon, when the sun shone on the red ground and the air felt very hot, Halima, one of the quiet wives, called the children to sit under a big tree for a short time of quiet. She sat with them in the cool shade, telling simple stories about old days and brave people from the village long ago. For a little while, the busy mess of the house went away, replaced by the soft sound of a quiet story. But just when the story reached a nice part, suddenly, laughter from another part of the house broke the quiet. Right then, the quiet was gone and the usual busy work came back as the wives started their fun talking again, and Halima's story was left unfinished in the warm, dusty air. The children of Okoro's house were a very active group, each with a troublemaking side and a skill for finding trouble. Their games were full of energy and laughter, and their curious minds often took them on surprising trips. One day, a group of them decided to play hide and seek in many rooms and outdoor corners of the big house. Their happy screams and soft giggles went into every corner as they ran through hallways, hid behind big doors, and even climbed little trees in the yard. The wives tried to follow the mess, calling out names and laughing at the fun hiding spots the children found. For Okoro, watching this small burst of energy was both warm and tiring, a reminder that in his active home, the difference between fun and crazy was always hard to tell. On a sunny Saturday, the wives decided to do something different and took Okoro on a surprise trip to the local market. The market was a busy maze of small shops, with sellers shouting prices and people bargaining over items. Okoro, not used to the wild fun outside his big house, found himself caught in the lively mess. The wives led him from one colorful stall to another, showing him new spices, fresh fruits, and pretty clothes. Every turn brought a new surprise, and every seller had a story to tell. With the laughter and fun teasing from his wives, Okoro saw the market as a big party of life, a mix of many sounds, colors, and the simple fun of buying and selling. At the market, the busy energy of the wives and children mixed with the local busy life in a way that was nice but sometimes too much. Okoro tried to stay calm, but even he got carried away by the fun of the busy scene. The wives haggled loudly for the best prices, each wanting a good bargain to make their life even more fun. They tried fresh fruits, compared fabrics, and even had funny talks over the best way to show a new vase. The noise at the market was like a mix of everyday sounds, shouts, laughter, and the clinking of coins. For Okoro, it reminded him that even outside his big house, life was a big, full of surprises adventure where every moment promised a new, funny tale. Soon after the market trip, one of Okoro's children, a troublemaking little boy with bright eyes and great curiosity, had a small pretend wedding feast of his own. It was not a real wedding, but a fun party set up by his friends and brothers and sisters, with a simple altar and laughter that filled every part of the big house. The wives took part too, each adding something fun to the event. Some acted like important guests while others served small bits of food as if making a big feast. Okoro, in the middle of this surprise party, just shook his head and laughed at the strange scene. It was a day when things were turned around, and the usual strict way of the home changed into a sudden party of kids' joy and funny traditions. In another change of events, the wife decided one day to surprise a well-known neighbor by visiting him, wanting to show off their busy home and make him join in their fun. The plan started early in the morning, with each wife getting a small job to make sure everything was just right. They spent hours cleaning up the big house, moving furniture, and even practicing short plays to welcome the guest. As the neighbor arrived, he was met with a sudden burst of singing, dancing, and fun talking that made him both laugh and feel confused. The show was so full of energy that even the quiet parts of the house seemed to be part of the show. For Okoro, watching the planned mess happen reminded him that even a small visit could become a day to remember when his busy family was involved. Each wife brought her own special style to the daily work, and soon their differences became a cause for funny fights and a little competition. You could see it clearly when making meals each day, as the wives competed about who could make the best stew or bake the softest bread. Their ways were as different as the bright colors of the cloth they wore, and every meal became a fun contest of skill and new ideas. They teased each other a lot, laughing over small mistakes and cheering for even small wins. This fun contest, though it sometimes led to loud arguments, made the home even more charming. For Okoro, these moments were a mixed blessing, a cause of ongoing worry, yet also a daily reminder of the lively, full of surprises spirit of his home. On a very busy day, a plan was made to have a big cooking contest that would include both the wives and the children. The idea was simple, to see who could make the most creative dish using the food in their simple kitchen. The big house turned into a simple cooking arena, with each area decorated with simple banners and bright cloths. The wives cheered for their teams, while the children copied their parents with small pots and wooden spoons. The contest soon became a busy mix of laughter, fun shouts, and some spills of water and sauce. Okoro, watching from afar, just smiled at the fun mess happening, even as he worried about cleaning up afterwards. Soon after the cooking contest, a lost goat entered the big house, bringing more fun and trouble to the day. The goat, with its curious eyes and wild way, soon became the focus. Some of the wives tried to chase it away, while others found it a cause of endless fun. The animal walked around the big house, eating some vegetables and sometimes joining the children in their chase games. Its funny actions made everyone laugh and start small, fun fights among the wives about who should take care of the lost visitor. Okoro, now dealing with the busy home and the lost goat, found himself laughing despite the mess. The day ended with the goat safely led out, but not before it left many funny memories that everyone would remember for days. As the days went on, the wives started their own small contest to see who was best at doing daily jobs. One memorable afternoon, a fun argument started over who could wash the most pots quickly. The contest was done in the big yard, with buckets of water, soap, and lots of pots. The wives cheered for each other, each set on showing she was best. Their fighting spirit made others want to join, and soon even the children joined in, clapping and laughing at seeing the women scrub hard. Okoro, in the middle of the noisy contest, could not help but laugh with them, realizing that this ongoing, fun competition was as much a part of his home as the always their noise. After a while, it was clear that Okoro's money did not protect him from the daily problems of his busy home. The money that once meant comfort now made the busy life even more active, as each wife found new ways to use it on things that made more fun and sometimes fights. Small money fights turned into funny talks that lasted for hours, with each wife strongly saying her choice was best. Even the helpers and neighbors joined in the fun talking, making every choice a group decision. Okoro, who used to be proud of his money, now often wondered if money was the real cause of his problems. Even with all this, he saw that the busy spirit of his home made every day full of surprises and, in its own way, beautiful. One day, in the evening, the wives gathered around the big fire to tell stories and plan for tomorrow. One of them, Zainab, quietly shared a secret idea to use Okoro's money to make life even more exciting. Her plan, though a bit playful, was simple: to slowly improve every part of the big house by buying small improvements and nice things that made the home brighter. The other wives listened very carefully, giggling at the idea of making their home even fancier. Okoro, who had part of the talk, felt both a little happy and a little scared. Even as they talked about it in a fun way, he could feel that every new plan was another way for his busy family to rule his life, making him wonder if he would ever have a quiet moment. That night, when the full moon lit up the big house with soft, silver light, the wives gathered again under the open sky. They sat in a circle around the fading fire, not only talking about tomorrow, but also sharing secrets, hopes, and small grumbles about the daily problems of their busy lives. Their words drifted in the cool night air, mixing with the soft sounds of crickets and far-off village noises. In that quiet moment, each wife showed a side of herself that was not often seen during the day, a side that wanted to be understood and have a little peace among the laughter and mess. Okoro, watching from a little way off, felt both the heavy duty of care and a mixed funny feeling about a home that, even though it was wild, was full of real feelings and dreams. In the middle of all the daily fun, a little child, with eyes full of mischief and wonder, did something that would soon be remembered as a great trick. The child, with a simple plan and lots of determination, decided to hide a special item from Okoro's things, a small wooden mask that was believed to bring good luck. Then a chase began with fun shouts and many running feet as wives and children ran around to find the lost mask. Even Okoro joined in, smiling as he tried to settle the funny fight. In the end, the mask was brought back with giggles and sorry words, and the whole event left many laughs and a story that everyone would tell again and again at family parties. A few days later, a rare quiet time came to the big house, and Okoro was alone in his small study. The room, with plain wooden shelves and a window that looked out onto the busy yard, became his safe place for a short time. He sat there with a cup of cool water, thinking about all the changes in his life. Even with the constant mess and the many needs of his 25 wives and many children, he started to see the funny side of it all. Every small fight, every fun trick, and every sudden laugh was part of the big, full of surprises story of his life. In that quiet time, Okoro thought that maybe this busy mess was what made life interesting. As soon as Okoro started to see the funny side of the mess, a new plan was started by his always busy wives. The idea was to have a big party right at the big house, a party to celebrate all the wild and nice parts of their daily life. Invitations were given out, decorations were made, and each wife handled a different part of the party. There were plans for games, music, and a small stage where each wife would act out a short, funny play about life in their busy home. The getting ready turned the big house into a place full of activity, lasting from early morning until late at night. Okoro, in the middle of all the planning and laughing, realized that this party might be the biggest and funniest thing they had ever planned. When the day of the party came, the big house turned into a bright party of colors and sounds. The wives had hung bright cloths from every tree and post, and the children wore small costumes that fit the party mood. Music filled the air as local musicians came to join the party, their beats echoing through the big house. Stalls were made with small treats and handmade things, and even the plainest parts of the house were decorated with fun and mischief. Okoro, wearing his best clothes, was moved from one group to another to join in the party. Even though he worked hard to keep up with the many surprises, he couldn't help but laugh at the sight of his home turned into a place for wild, free fun. Even when the party was at its highest point, with laughter and music coming together as one happy sound, Okoro's time outside his home always reminded him that his life was full of surprises. The bright energy of the party spread into the nearby village, bringing curious people and even some faraway relatives who had not known about the busy gatherings at Okoro's home. Every step he took was met with both praise and surprise as people were amazed by the big party. Even with the mess, or maybe because of it, Okoro felt very close to his community. In that moment, his life, with all its noise and surprises, seemed to show the true spirit of the land, a mix of fun, strength, and the joy of living without fear. As the party started to slow down and the bright colors slowly disappeared in the night, the wives decided to keep the fun going in their own special way. They set up a bunch of fun games and small contests that went on until very late. From tug-of-war games to sudden storytelling sessions, each event was full of laughter and some silly mischief. The big house, now lit by a few lanterns and the soft light of the moon, became a playground where even the grown UPS forgot their daily troubles. Okoro, who had been the focus all day, found himself joining a sudden dance led by a group of laughing wives. In that moment, the home that once felt very bad changed into a place where every problem was met with a big laugh and shared fun. Outside the big house, neighbors started talking about the crazy life inside Okoro's home. The busy scenes, full of interesting people and constant laughter, became the main story in the village. People would gather around their fires in the evenings, telling the stories of the day, the surprise parties, the sudden cooking contests, and even the little adventures with a lost goat or a playful child. The talk was never mean, it was full of wonder about how one man's home could be a place for so much fun and mess. Okoro's home, with its never-ending energy and surprise events, became a local story. Even though he worried about the constant noise, he felt a bit proud that his busy mess was admired by the people. One very tiring day, after a long morning of non-stop activities and fun fights, Okoro decided to find a quiet spot in his big house. He went into a small room at the back, hoping to have a few quiet moments to think. But his try to escape was very short when he had a loud knock on the door, followed by many voices calling his name. The wives, as usual, found him and said that even a little quiet was too important to miss. Okoro went back into the mess with a sigh and a small smile, realizing that hiding from the noise was as hard as stopping the laughter that was everywhere in his home. To use some of the constant energy in his home, the wife set up a bunch of games that made daily work into fun contests. One day, they made an obstacle course in the big house that went through the gardens, around the big mud hut, and under simple arches made of bright cloth. The wives, with playful smiles, had races against each other while the children cheered from the side. Okoro was made the judge and found himself laughing while also feeling the pressure of counting points. Every fall, every happy cheer, and every funny tease made the event both a test of strength and a party of their lively life together. In that moment, the big house felt less like a crazy prison and more like a fun playground where everyone in the family took part in the funny show. One sunny afternoon, while the wives were busy planning another surprise, they decided to borrow Okoro's old favorite car for a fun ride around the village. The car, which he loved because it showed his hard work, soon became the center of a crazy adventure. The wives took turns driving, laughing very hard as they drove on the twisty dirt roads and sometimes honked the horn to say hello to surprised people. The children climbed into the back seat, their laughter mixed with the sound of the engine, while Okoro wondered if his favorite car would ever come back home. Even with the mess and the bumps on the road, the sudden fun ride made a feeling of free fun that, for a short time, made every worry feel far away. The fun ride did not stop when the car came back, as the laughter and fun continued into a day of surprising accidents. While driving on a narrow, twisty road, the wives and children made a funny mess that made local sellers come out of their shops to watch the scene. Happy shouts and funny teasing calls filled the air as the car moved a bit on the bumpy road. At one time, a small child got to hang out of an open window, making the situation even funnier. The neighbors laughed with the people watching, and even Okoro, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, couldn't stop laughing at how silly it was. The small accidents showed that life in his home was always full of surprises, each one a story to be told. Soon after the fun ride, the wife decided to have a friendly contest where Okoro would be the judge for a series of home challenges. The event was held in the big yard under the shade of a big tree and had contests like who could stack the most bows and who could sing the funniest song. Each contest was full of excitement, and every participant tried hard to beat the others with funny and strong effort. The children ran around, cheering and clapping for every win, while Okoro, sitting at a long table with a serious but funny look, tried his best to count the points. The contest had many surprises and lots of laughter, reminding everyone that even in a house that sometimes felt very bad, there was always time for a good game and a big laugh. As the day turned to evening, one of the wives suggested an idea that no one expected, a surprise birthday party for Okoro. The idea came suddenly, and the wives quickly loved it and started planning with happy shouts. They started decorating the big house with simple banners and bright flowers, while the children made small handmade cards. Okoro, surprised when he walked into a room full of cheers, could only stand in shock as his family sang a funny birthday song that was not in tune. Even though the surprise made him quiet for a moment, the love and fun in every act made him see that, even in the middle of the mess, he was very loved by his family. The surprise birthday party went on late into the night, with each wife and child adding their own special part to the party. The living room was full of laughter, and every part of the big house shone with small lanterns and happy faces. Plates of food were brought out one after another, and even the smallest child got a turn to sing a birthday song for Okoro. Among the fun teasing and gentle jokes, there was real warmth that reminded everyone of the love that kept them together. Okoro, feeling both very overwhelmed and touched, realized that this mess was not a punishment but a lively, if unusual, way of showing family love. The party, though wild and not planned, was a beautiful reminder that every day in his home was full of unexpected joy. As the birthday party moved out into the big yard, the party became even wilder. Neighbors, attracted by the laughter and music, looked over the walls to see the growing show. The wife set up quick games that made everyone, from the smallest child to the oldest person, join the fun. The air was full of laughter, soft talk, and the sound of utensils clinking as people shared food and tales. Even the normal grumbles and small fights were forgotten for a shared, happy time. Okoro, now enjoying the chaos, laughed until his sides hurt, realizing that his once troubled life had become full of surprise, happy moments that made every day worth living. In the days after the big birthday party, a small change started to happen in the big house. Okoro, who once thought his home was always a struggle, began to notice small beautiful moments in the mess. He watched as his wives worked together to fix a broken pot, or as the children shared their snacks without any fighting. Even in the loud arguments and funny insults, there were moments of care, a hand on the shoulder, a gentle smile, a quiet apology after a big fight. Slowly, Okoro saw that the home he once thought was a living hell was, in its own way, full of life, laughter, and love. Every bit of chaos reminded him of the family he had and the stories they shared. Over time, the wife saw that Okoro's mood was changing. His once frantic tries to control everything turned into a more relaxed and happy view. He began to join in the fun talk, sometimes teasing his wife's back with a quick, smart joke that made everyone laugh. The big house, with all its loud noise and surprises, started to feel less like a heavy load and more like a wild, living party of life. In quiet moments, when the mess stopped for a little while, Okoro would sit and watch his family with a gentle smile, seeing that every shout and funny fight was part of the surprise magic that made his home special. The change happened slowly, but it made the air warm in a way that even the wildest day could not take away. One evening, after a long day of games, big meals, and some more surprises, the whole family gathered around the fire to tell stories. The night was cool, and the stars shone brightly over the big house. Each wife and child took turns telling what happened during the day, laughing at the accidents and cheering for the small wins. Even Okoro shared his own funny view of the day's mess, telling the events with a sparkle in his eye that made everyone laugh. For a while, the day's constant noise turned into a soft, shared laugh, a sound that brought back memories of hard times and happy times. In that moment, the busy mix of voices became one beautiful sound, a family joined by the love that had grown even in the craziest times. As the new day began to come, Okoro stood at the door of his big house and looked at the life he knew so well. The loud mix of voices, the busy talk, and the never-ending surprises had become the heart of his life. In that quiet time, he realized that the mess was not a bad thing but a part of the colorful story of his life. The love, laughter, and even the small fights had made a home that was truly his, a place where every moment, no matter how loud or wild, was full of family joy.